Hi there, lovelies. It's Jennifer Hough here, and so happy to be having a conversation about the divine feminine right now. I think the place where I wanted to start, and this conversation started with a story, and the story was from my dear friend Janice, and she shared the story of something that is an example of a shift that's happening in consciousness in our world for humanity right now. So what I want to talk about and share about today, and please, make comments. I want to see what you have to say about this topic, and I want to co-create this conversation. So the story was about the divine feminine. The divine feminine, what is it? Well, it isn't about women. And it isn't actually about men either. The divine feminine is non-denominational, as it were. The divine feminine is something that sort of transcends the physical body. It has more to do with the level of receptivity, grace, compassion, which is a non-man or woman thing. And I want to share some stories that hopefully will powerfully activate you, and I ask you to pass these stories on because I truly believe they are examples of powerful shifts in the way we relate to each other right now, and they're all being catalyzed by the craziness in our political systems and in the way we're interacting and the way we've been in business. So the first story, and then what we're going to do, and this will take all of maybe, less than 10 minutes. So then what I want to do is share with you what it means in your life, what it means to how to show up in your life, how to actually integrate some of those shifts, what it means for your abundance and your relationships, because it means a lot, actually. So the first story is about something that happened in Canada, which is where I was born. And there's, for those of you in other parts of the world, I'm going to talk about football, but I'm talking about American football, not soccer. And what actually happened was that the coach of the Toronto team in football, what he did was he got hired this year. The Toronto team hadn't done very well in past years, and they actually won the Eastern Conference in Canada for the CFL, the Canadian Football League. How did they win? Well, they won, and their team members spoke to the media and have spoken to the media ongoingly, telling them that the reason why this team is winning is because their coach is tenaciously committed to expanding compassion and love on this football team. A coach of a very skewed version of the masculine sport, right? In other words, not the divine masculine, but the masculine that's been really bastardized by a dog-eat-dog world. That masculine is what runs most of those sports. It becomes very predatory, very competitive, very all about winning, that there's a shortage, there's not enough pieces of the pie. And just think about how you live your life from that skewed masculine. Where do you live your life where there's not enough? Where you feel like you have to fight for it? Where you feel like you have to get ahead because if not, someone else is going to get ahead? And what this man decided to do, what this coach decided to do, is he decided that it was truly important to infuse love and compassion between the team members, but also with them out in the world. As a result of doing that, the team, from this place of very powerful connection and mutual understanding, and they'd all shared their painful stories of their upbringing with each other. Then they proceeded to win the Canada version of the Super Bowl, which is called the Grey Cup, against a team that definitely, skill-wise, was much better than them. And the cohesion in this group and the understanding and the camaraderie and the connection is what had them actually be able to come together and move mountains where it seemed to be impossible. It's a perfect example of what's possible for humanity when we embody the divine feminine. The divine feminine is all about that mutual understanding, that compassion, that willingness to be seen and to be received by another. Everything around the divine feminine is all about being willing to be received, in other words, to be seen, but also to see another with incredible vulnerability. So the next piece of this is that there is, so see if you can feel what I'm about to say, because when our cells can feel a shift, what happens is it shifts us. So I call that an activation. An activation is when we have a conversation and a deeper truth comes through because of the conversation that we're in, and we're changed because of it. So just feel what I'm about to share. So imagine that we've, in society, spoken about humanity like there is the masculine and there is the feminine, as though humanity is dualistic or polarized. It's like the yin and the yang. There's right and wrong. There's good and bad. The problem is that none of that is like your right brain and your left brain, when there really is a corpus callosum that allows both to be fully integrated with each other. The part of us that allows us to be fully integrated with the divine feminine, which is that receptive part of us, and the divine masculine, which the divine masculine is really all about getting it done. But how it gets skewed, or how it's been misunderstood, is that we think it's about getting it done, but in order to prove the need to getting it done, or to prove the masculine, we've created a society where the illusion of there's not enough love, not enough money, not enough good careers, not enough intelligence, not enough nice people out there. And what you have to do when there is not enough, in the illusion that there's not enough, when of course we're infinite beings and there's always enough, but in the world of there's not enough, the skewed masculine can thrive. And the skewed masculine, once the idea of there's not enough comes in, all of a sudden what happens is the skewed masculine has the opportunity to prove itself. So now it wants to have more life. You see, the skewed masculine is actually a living entity. And anything that we give life, by the way, including by making it wrong or by complaining about it, when we complain about it, we give it more life. When we make it wrong, we give it more life. When in fact, it's in response to, I don't know how to live my infinite nature. I don't know how to live as a fully integrated human. And the frustration comes out in, how do I get my power back? Therefore, skewed masculine or skewed feminine. The skewed feminine looks instead like, I'm going to acquiesce. I'm going to subjugate myself. I'm going to put myself beneath, because that which is going out and making sure that in a world where there's not enough, I'm going to support that, or I'm going to, but support it from a place of being less than. There's also a voice that gets squelched, which I'm sure we're all aware that that voice is now being heard. So the divine feminine in a three-dimensional world is now the divine feminine is not necessarily the voice that's currently being heard, but that is the voice of the feminine getting its power back. The divine feminine, however, is about receiving. The divine feminine is about receptivity. It's about co-creation. It's about generosity. So, here comes the punchline. The punchline is this: you and I are not defined by being divine feminine or divine masculine, which are both catchphrases made by a world that wants to understand these different ways of being. We are actually, if you imagine feminine is spelt with an I-N-E and masculine spelt with an I-N-E, I like to call who we really are human, H-U-M-I-N-E, as though we are the perfect combination, the perfect conglomeration, the perfect full integration. We have the capacity to be fully integrated as both. And in fact, if we make that our aim, what it looks like is the end of the duality and becoming whole and complete human beings. And in our whole and completeness, what happens is we get our power back, and instead of living in the illusion like there isn't enough love, there isn't enough money, there isn't enough whatever, if you have your doingness combined with your ability to receive, you have your left and your right brain working in perfect connection. You have your masculine and your feminine working in perfect connection. And now you're that third entity. You're no longer this polarized being. So even when we look at men and women as you're that way and you're that way, what we've done, or when we look at the right and the left as you're that way and you're that way, that party's more masculine, that party's more feminine. The truth is neither are either. The truth is that we are all of it. And to be fully integrated with all of it means to live in quite a miraculous flow of receiving and then being able to act on what we receive, on having infinite wisdom be able to guide us, because we don't have to go after anything because we're not afraid that there aren't enough resources. We're actually receiving, knowing that everything is happening for us and we're being given to. And at the same time, then, because we're in a body on a planet, we get to act on that. The divine masculine acts on that infinite wisdom. And you can't have the left brain without the right brain. You can't have the doing brain without the connected to the infinite brain. So, there are really 3 parts to this conversation. I just want to share one more story. I was talking to a gentleman last night, wonderful gentleman. His name is Sam, and Sam has worked in politics. He's created over 1 million jobs. He's an incredibly intelligent man, but he's lived his whole life in the doingness. The cool thing is his heart has guided his doingnesses. And he has a very powerful congruency meter. Maybe you guys have you noticed that you have most of the people that, come and play with us or have these conversations are very sensitive to begin with, and they have powerful incongruency meters. They can see when someone is not on purpose, or when they're trying to manipulate, or they're skewed somehow as a human being. They aren't actually following the purest intent. And this man is very much like that. You can imagine being like that and living in politics, right? And so he told me last night, he said to me in the most vulnerable way, and my heart was so touched, that he has no idea what he's doing because he's gotten himself into a place where he's received messages and he's being lived by a calling at this point. His instincts are red hot. It's like his time has come to move mountains for humanity and change the world, to the point where he actually has been in connection with people to bring mindfulness into politics, if you can, and in a very real way, not in a fluffy way. He's someone who can do that. Can you imagine? So he came to me to have a conversation about how he can get back to feeling, this wonderful man. And I'll tell you more about the project coming up, because I think it's such a powerful, powerful, world-changing project, and how you can get involved and how you can assist. But for me, this man is guided by his heart, but he's been such a doer that he very vulnerably said to me, I actually don't even know how to feel. I want to be able to connect with people, but I don't actually know how. And so this is a human being that's worked in politics who's actually saying, I would love to know what my feelings are saying and how to connect to other people's feelings, because I've been so in the masculine that the feminine hasn't been allowed to have a voice. So The only reason I share that conversation is because if you think that it's not happening, it is. If you think that things aren't shifting, they are. If you've thought that there is no hope, that is not true. So how do you integrate these shifts? Because they are happening on a metaphysical level. In other words, we're swimming in the environment of these shifts. So if you think they aren't happening, it doesn't matter. That's your mind. They are happening. The evidence is that things are happening now that I've never seen in my career, and things are happening now that I've never seen in my life, particularly in football of all places. And things are happening on the feminine side as well. So what does that mean for you? What does that mean for me? What it means is that it's time for us to stop being so afraid to be who we came here to be. It's time for us to stop changing our personalities and donning identities that we perceive would keep us safe. Now, you can if you want, but if you want to be a part of the shift, having the courage, which is fine, either one way or another, you have to do what your instincts tell you. But if you actually want to be a part of the awakening shift to become Humine, fully integrated as a human being. By the way, I'm laughing right now because I'm looking at myself on a screen and there's like a bindi right here because there's a speck on my phone. It's like my third eye is being activated as we're talking. So it's just funny. So if you want to be a part of the shift, you don't have to anything. But if you want to be a part of the shift, what it involves, the choice that it involves, is actually to be willing to relinquish the identities that have protected you, that are either skewed feminine, which looks like taking yourself out of society or hiding or getting introverted and just not being with people. That's one way it looks. Or the skewed feminine can also look like trying to make things nice and smooth them over instead of speaking your deeper truth. It equals relinquishing that identity. Or on the skewed masculine side, not the divine masculine, but the skewed masculine that's been afraid, it looks like being overly defensive or overly defensive about when something is wrong, or it looks like fighting for your piece of the puzzle, or it looks like being very rebellious about how no one's seen you and they don't listen, and it looks like a fight to be heard. But when we relinquish those identities and we come forward knowing that we're also human at the same time that we've donned these identities, when these identities just drop, what's left is a very vulnerable human being who, from this place of neutrality, if we're mindful enough, will be guided to action steps, knowing that anyone can be the bridge. You can be the bridge. I get to be the bridge. That there is a movement afoot, that something is shifting, that we are coming into the possibility of a new age, but it takes people actually having the courage to be different. So, what does it mean in terms of abundance? What it means in terms of abundance for a lot of people who've been sitting back and waiting and watching, it means that there's a new paradigm for abundance coming forth that equals, even in the most normal businesses where it's been competitive, it equals generosity, co-creation, cooperation. I was just talking to someone last night about that, my dear friend John Burgos. And, the conversation kind of came up that, I'll do that for you, but you don't have to do anything in return. I just love you. And I said the exact same thing. That's the kind of shift that's happening in business. It's not about the dog-eat-dogness. So in abundance, it looks like a bolstering of each other that can only lead to mutual thriving. In our relationships, what it looks like is playmates. It looks like two complete human beings playing instead of two human beings coming from, this role or that role, or trying to compensate or prove or whatever according to what masculine or feminine looks like. It looks like two equal playmates that are perfectly complementary, going down the wormhole of discovering what it is to thrive in this lifetime. That's what awakening, and Humine, looks like in this lifetime. The next thing is, what does it look like for you around your purpose? Well, only as a complete human being can you actually thrive living the piece of the puzzle of heaven on earth that you are. And you came forth as a piece of that puzzle. So your calling is going to become a lot stronger. As the divine feminine gets integrated into humanity, and by the way, divine feminine does not look like fighting for your voice. That's just where the pendulum swings when the voice hasn't been heard. But the divine feminine actually equals a very quiet, powerful receptivity. A very deep knowing that everything is happening for us. So sometimes it needs to go this way in order to get back here, though. So what does it look like for your purpose? The doorway is opening. We have the possibility right now. I'm seeing it all around me with our clients. I'm seeing around it. I'm seeing it in, yesterday I had 3 one-on-ones. In every single one of them, I saw how each of those people was starting to be seen by others, and what they were doing was being asked for, and no longer was it being judged as out there or too unicorn, or these people were being revered as those that were building the bridges. So if you feel called to do something that before you've been afraid to show yourself, now is the time to show yourself. Because what you do now is you give permission to all the other people that are being called. So this is a time for huge change. And it is, I so would love you to, we have these conversations all the time on facebook.com/groups with an S /TWA Playground. Just search for TWA Playground and come and join us. However, I think that as we fly forward, more and more will be coming together. And even now, the company that I'm the president of and what we facilitate, we see every single person in our company as, that's another thing, within a company, it looks like nobody is above anybody else. This company couldn't work without everyone being masterful at exactly what they do, whether they work 10 hours a week or 50 hours a week. It really just requires that we show up as our piece of the puzzle, and no piece of the puzzle is any more valuable than any other. And it's not about the money. It's about the privilege of expressing ourselves. And so I thought in this holiday season that something that would really assist, that affects every area that we've talked about on this particular Facebook Live, we have something called the 3 Days of Awakening, which is part of a 12-day series. But I just wanted to gift you guys, if you haven't got it yet, to gift you guys the first 3 days of the 12 Days of Awakening, which are about that new kind of love. It's about that it's an activation about that abundance. And it's the third one I can't remember, and it doesn't matter. If you feel it, just, absolutely, it is our privilege and honor to be able to gift that to you guys. You just go to thewideawakening.com and pick it up. You just scroll down one screen and you'll see the place to enter your name and your email so that you can get it. Finally, thank you for being a member of the Heaven on Earth construction crew. I know you are because you're here. And the Heaven on Earth construction crew are the only people I talk to, so it must be you. and I just feel really excited for 2018. I know that coming up we'll be doing, we always do a radio show. By the way, it's at blogtalkradio.com/The Wide Awakening. We do we do a beginning of the year activation, and next year is going to be an extraordinary year. So I can't wait for you guys to come along, and it's every first Wednesday of the month. But if you, yeah, we'll see you. If you get those first 3 days, then you'll get an announcement about that activation. And our mission here is to make sure we all come along, and we all are part of a global movement to take any frustration and any inspiration and put it into action, such that our world, your world, our individual worlds can become a place where it becomes a joy to co-create together. So I am just very grateful for all of you being here today. I can't wait for our next Facebook Live, which, by the way, is going to be all about play and fun and how that can change the world. So just lots of love to everyone. www.thewideawakening.com. Just scroll down and get the first 3 days of the 12 days of awakening and get those activations. And I love you. And listen to this a few times and let yourself integrate with the ideas. And please pass it along, everyone. Please pass along this conversation and come and play again. We do it every Monday, usually at 11:11 on Eastern Standard Time. So wherever you are in the world, if that works for you, that would be awesome for you to join us. And sometimes we do surprise ones just like this one, because I love doing that, because it's fun. Okay, I love you. Okay, bye-bye.